What's up, everybody? Today we'll be taking a look at the 12 World Force Master Deluxe, and no, that TW in the corner does not mean Toys Wonderland. Okay, sorry for the dramatic pause, I'm only joking with you guys, but of course, yes, this is a third-party Master Yoda figure. I have some low expectations for this because I'm not familiar with this company, but of course we're going to dive in this together. Before we get started, really quickly, let's get that top lid off and see how it arrives to you when it lands on your doorstep. And there is our little green friend and all of his accessories in the packaging before us. But let's take the figure and all of the accessories now out of the packaging, and let's take a closer look at all of the details. The first thing I want to just get out of the way, because this is total garbage. This is what the backdrops arrive in. Yes, you do get backdrops. Let me pull them out real quick and show you how bad they really are. So here's our first one, and as I said, nothing too impressive. You can see they're very low res. You can see I have some nice damage all over mine here. These do come in like a separate manila envelope, and this got completely destroyed in shipping. Also, you can see there's actually a cut in mine. Whoever packed mine, I guess, put a slice in it there. Yeah, not too excited about these. On the underside, you can see it opens up, and you kind of have this floor design here, and this is also damaged kind of all over. So this one in particular is the most useless to me because it's all damaged. So let me show you the other one real quick. And here's the other one. Again, very low res, nothing special. And I don't want you guys to take this as me complaining. I'm just kind of roasting them because it's funny to me. I don't really care about these. I'll probably never use them anyway. But again, mine are both very damaged. You can see damage all over it. Flip it to the underside. Damage all over there. So yeah, these are probably going to be put away and never used. So let's move on. So we do have 6 extra hands here. I think they're painted decently enough, and there's some nice sculpted in detail. Without looking at them side by side at this moment, it does look like these are recast from the Hot Toys hands. Don't quote me on that, but these look very, very familiar. So I'll have to compare later. I have good news for you guys. I do have the other 2 Hot Toys Yodas in my collection, so we will compare these just for fun. But yeah, these look very familiar. I don't think they're done poorly though, and I'm pretty happy with the paintwork overall. We have arguably our most important accessory here. This is the lightsaber, obviously. I will say the hilt is not like Hot Toys quality paint, but it's pretty decent. I think it comes off good enough as metal. It's actually better than a lot of the older Sideshow stuff. Because I felt like their stuff always didn't look like it was actual metal. So this actually isn't too bad. What is bad, though, is the color of the lightsaber blade. I think it's coming off on camera how it is in person. It's like a highlighter yellow as opposed to a green. That's pretty bad. I would probably hunt down a Hot Toys lightsaber if you're picking up this set, or maybe paint the blade. I don't know. It just looks pretty off to me. The next thing is going to make you laugh, though. Yeah. I'm not a huge fan of this, guys. Sorry if you guys like this. I think it looks super goofy, and it's going to be very difficult to make this look like the lightsabers in motion. It's just a really odd design choice. The shape is a bit odd. I was never a huge fan of the Hot Toys ones either, so that's really not knocking this figure in particular. This just isn't the best shape, in my opinion, as you can see. It's just really goofy looking. And as I said earlier, this is also a yellow color, so that's a bit unfortunate. It doesn't really come off as green in person, but that's just my personal opinion. Not knocking it. If you guys like this, I'm not a huge fan. Now, is this not the cutest display stand you've ever seen? I'm actually not mad at this, guys. It is very small. It's very basic. Obviously, it just says Force Master there, but it's not really that poorly made as much as it looks, at least. It's got a weight in the bottom, which is nice to keep it from falling over when you put Yoda in a pose. This is actually a pretty decently sturdy pole here. The clamp isn't too bad. It kind of reminds me of a small version of the Iconic Studios flight pole. Pretty interesting design, but I'm not mad at it. Here's Yoda's cane. Pretty nice sculpted in detail. Again, I'm not too sure if this is just a recast of the Hot Toys one. I haven't compared it yet, but nicely done overall. It's just a plain brown paint, so nothing to write home about, but I'm glad it was included. Now that is what I'm talking about, guys. Now I know a lot of us probably came to see this because this is the deluxe exclusive accessory, the Jedi Council Room chair that Yoda sits in. And this is really nicely done. You got some nice dry brushing details there on the inside. The finish is pretty nicely laid in my opinion. You can see it's pretty even. I've only noticed a couple defects on it. There's one right there. But overall, it's painted pretty nicely. And another thing I really like that they did is there's some black felt here on the bottom, so it doesn't scratch up whatever surface you're putting it on, or it doesn't scratch up the bottom of the chair. So very cleverly done. I'm definitely a huge fan of this, and I cannot wait to see this figure sitting inside the chair, because that's why I got it. And I saved the best accessory for last. We have our alternate head sculpt here, but it looks very good. As you can see, there's some nice sculpted in detail there, but really this is painted pretty nicely as well. You can see some different paint apps there in the ears, on the eyelids. The hair actually doesn't look too bad. In photos, I'm like, oh, it looks a little rough. We're of course going to compare it to how the Hot Toys hair looks, but I think that looks pretty nice. For what I paid for this figure, I'm actually pretty impressed thus far. And like I said earlier, I don't know this company at all, so definitely a great start. But how does the figure look? That's the most important thing. So let me grab the Force Master, aka Master Yoda, and let's see what we think of the figure. And here he is, guys. Look how small he is next to my hand. It's a very tiny figure because it's a very tiny character. I think at first glance, guys, I think he looks very good. For a third-party figure, I think they've done a great job here. Now, one thing I want to point out, and I noticed when I took him out of the box, you could see his head just kind of falls back there. So I don't know if that's just my copy. That's kind of why I had him propped up like that. I'll have to kind of remedy that myself. But for all intents and purposes, apart from that, guys, he looks pretty good. There's some nice wiring actually running all throughout the cloak here. It runs all the way up through the hood and, of course, all the way down to the other side. And that's pretty nice. You actually have some weathering applied. As you can see, the weathering effects going down the seam there. Pretty nicely done, guys. I'm actually really happy I picked this one up. Now, as you can see, the hair is kind of a little all over the place, but not a huge deal because his hair is kind of like that in the films. Again, that weathering is really nicely done, kind of like that coffee stain effect, if you will. Looks really good, really resembles some dirtiness to the robe there. That head is just kind of flopping all over the place. If we open this up, you could see, I would say this is pretty nicely stitched. It's a simple design, but I think it looks really good. A nice choice of material there, in my opinion. Pre-installed on the figure, you do have two kind of open gripping hands there. Of course, those are the feet. Flip it to the underside. You do have some sculpted in detail. And again, as I mentioned earlier, I do believe a lot of this stuff is probably recast from Hot Toys. Even without confirming it, it does look very familiar. I almost forgot to give you guys a close-up of this head sculpt. As you can see, it's pretty nicely painted. Even the eyes, you can see a little bit of red around the outside edge of the eyes. I think it's pretty nicely done. Again, guys, for a third-party figure that's relatively inexpensive, I think they did an awesome job on this. Be very careful with the hair. I noticed I looked down on my table and there was just hair all over the table, so it's kind of falling off as I'm moving the head, so be very careful with that. Over time, if you're not careful, you might lose a lot of it, so be very careful with that as you're taking a look at the head sculpt or as you're posing it, because you might lose more than you want to. We're not going to go too crazy with posability because it's not much to it, but of course the head, we know that moves because it keeps drooping back. It's very loose. I'm curious to see if the other one is that loose. I'll report back once I stick that one on the body. The body isn't bad, guys, but it has a really weird feeling to it. Like, it's really like, you can hear it. It's kind of like crunchy. I don't even know if I can describe it as crunchy. I don't know. It's very odd. It's very posable, as you can see, very, very posable. So no issues there. You can really get him in any crazy poses you want. And he does hold his poses, so I'm not too upset about it. It's just a weird body. I don't even know how I would describe it. I think crunchy is a little unfair. But while I have this head sculpt on him, let me grab the Hot Toys one really quick and let's see how they stack up to each other. So here we have the Hot Toys Attack of the Clones Yoda on my right here, and on the left, of course, we have the Force Master. Now, two things I'm noticing very quickly are the scaling of the figures and also the color of skin tone. So you could see the Hot Toys on the right, the head is a decent amount bigger, the body is larger, he has a thicker torso, just overall a bigger figure. I'm not sure who's right on the scaling. I'm guessing Hot Toys is more accurate. It looks more accurate to me. Also, you can see the shade of green here. It's a lighter green here versus a more like kind of whitish base colored green. Both look very good in their own right. This one, of course, is the Attack of the Clones version. This one I'll be using for a Phantom Menace version, so maybe some of the color differences are intentional. I would have to go back and look at screen grabs, but I'll be honest with you guys, of course, the Hot Toys one looks better. Between the two, the Hot Toys looks a lot better in my opinion. But that's not to crap on the Force Master. If you can't afford the Hot Toys one, if you don't want to shell out the money for such a small little guy, I think this is a very viable option in my opinion. You can see the colors on the robes are quite different as well. If we open up the Hot Toys robe and the robe of the Force Master, you can see we have some ribbing detail that you don't have on the Force Master. Both look very good in my opinion. Again, just some stuff that you would expect Hot Toys to do better. For a company that's relatively unknown to me, I think they've done a fantastic job here. Looking at the hairline, you can see the differences with the hair and how it was applied. You don't have that kind of center point there on the hair that you do with the Hot Toys one. The same kind of wispiness can be seen in the back. Have some lost hair there in the back. I don't know if it was like that or if it's been happening as I've been handling it. More weathering on the first one. As you can see, you don't have that weathering there on the back of this one. And we might as well, just for fun, let me grab the Empire Strikes Back Yoda and let's compare that one as well. And here we have our Empire Strikes Back Yoda, obviously looking happy in old age. And as you can see, he's got a receding hairline there that the younger Yoda does not. But just so cool to have multiple different versions of this character in my collection now. One for Attack of the Clones, one for Phantom Menace, one for Empire Strikes Back. I've got all the Yodas, so definitely really cool. But of course, guys, now let me throw this Force Master figure in a couple poses and we'll close out this video and I'll share my final thoughts. So I'm going to try something different here for the closing out segment. Usually what I would do is film the poses and then do a voiceover. We're doing it live. We're going to do it live right now. I'm going to describe my thoughts on the figure, what I like, what I don't like. So as you can see, guys, this is the reason I bought him. We have Yoda here sitting in his Jedi Council chair. I have to futz with him a little bit more. I put him in kind of a quick pose, but he looks awesome. This is exactly why I got this figure. And just for shits and giggles, I did throw the backdrop in. It does look kind of cool in this shot here, I will admit, but again, it's still very low res. Mine's really beat up, but just for the purpose of the video, why not? I showed it to you guys. Also, some things I want to note. I do think swapping out the hands is very easy. I really don't like how the hair falls out so easily. That kind of bugs me. You got to be very careful with that. Literally every time I handle him, there's hair all over the place. Getting a little closer now, you can see he just looks absolutely awesome. For a cheap third-party figure, I'm very happy with the shelf presence I'm seeing here. What if Yoda falls asleep in the middle of a Jedi Council meeting? This is what he would look like, right? Swapping out the head is very sketchy, guys. Once again, do not touch the hair. Do not touch the hair. Be very careful with that because it's very sketchy and it will fall off. And finally, here he is in this really sick jumping pose that totally did not take me 10 minutes to pose him in. Looks awesome. You can see the wiring holds up really well. As crunchy, as weird as this body is, it does pose and it holds a pose pretty well. Closer up, he looks even better. I'm not going to pretend like this one is perfect. I'm not going to pretend like it's better than the Attack of the Clones Hot Toys version, because it's not, but it's pretty damn good for the price. I'm very happy with it for an unknown company. Any issues I mentioned aside, I'm very, very pleased with it. I think this is a worthy pickup if you can get it for a fair price, which I believe that you will be able to. But that's going to wrap up the video. Sorry if this ending was a bit more long-winded, but I wanted to try something different. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Take care. I'll see you next time, and I'm out.